Who's he?
Kentman!
He's not important!
Okay. Hello, gamers and collectors. It's your boy Kentman, and welcome back to a brand new video. And today is the day we finally talk about Visions of Mana. This game came out August 29th, and I started my playthrough of it and enjoyed the wonder world of Visions of Mana. But I have to be frank with you guys. This is the first time I ever played a Mana game. I played Trials of Mana, the remake, for the demo a while back when it came out. It definitely did catch my eye, but it was nothing too major that really drew me in. This was the first time where a Mana game has really drew me in since the moment I saw the trailers and saw the visual style and the way the game was going to be, that I knew for a fact that I wanted this game. And I am so glad I was able to experience this game because I honestly enjoyed it so much, more than I thought I would initially would. Now, when I first played this game, I started out with the demo, and I had some criticism about the demo where the combat wasn't all that fun to deal with at first, and then the camera movement was a little wonky, which I do think they fixed in the actual base game of the game. And also, I just didn't like how convoluted everything was. But once you start learning the battle looping and the vessels and utilizing all the other characters, the game became a lot more fun to me the more I started to play it, and it led me into buying the full game and playing it and streaming it on this channel. And I have to say, I truly loved it. Now, again, before we get too deep into this video, I don't want to make this a review because I really don't like reviews. I don't want people to base their opinions off of my opinions. I want them to base their own opinions on their own merits of playing the game. Now, I get that, you know, games are a lot of money nowadays, so you can't be wasting your money on every single game. So I understand that you would like someone's opinion to tell you that it's a little bit worth it for your game. And I don't know if I can really do that, but one thing I do think I can do is tell you how I felt about Visions of Mana. And that's pretty much what this series is going to be. If I decide to do other ones that's like a review-ish, I'm pretty much just going to do it how the game made me feel. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The first things that we're going to get through is the things that I didn't like about Visions of Mana, which is the mouth syncing. Sometimes with this beautiful game and the way the game is structured, the way people speak doesn't always match the words that they're saying. I don't know what went wrong with the mouth animations, or it was the visual style, or what was going on. Sometimes it was distracting, but sometimes, you know, I was too immersed into the story to really care. Sometimes you just kind of forget about it as you go through. But there is some times where it's like, oh, that doesn't seem right. The way they're talking doesn't match the lip flaps that they're saying, and just the animations of that was just off. And the other things was just more of a personal reason why I didn't like a certain game, and that is because of a certain boss that you fight later in the nighttime time loop dungeon, which was this vampire bat boss that would suck your energy every time he would get a little bit low on health, and you had to dodge him, but it was hard to dodge him because sometimes the camera would be a certain way, or he would suck your ally, and it was an annoying fight that I really lost my cool on, that I had to take a break. But mostly I think it was my fault because I wasn't utilizing my tools right, because he was a darkness enemy and I was fighting him with all my darkness powers because I was using Pamelina, which I will get into a little bit about the vessels, and I was pretty much bashing my head to the wall and trying to mash my way through it, because that's how I got through the game most far. But this was the first time I actually had to think, and I had to defeat him with light magic instead of darkness magic, who I was using with Palamina, and it made the fight a lot more difficult than it should have been. But there is certain difficulty curves in the game, but nothing too crazy where it's impossible to beat. You just gotta play the game how it's intended in certain merits. But that was like the only true times that I would say I didn't like the game or certain things about the game, but it doesn't take away from the entire experience for this game. But for the story of Visions of Mana, pretty much you are tasked from taking alms, who are pretty much the energy, the life source of the planet, to the mana tree to feed it to revitalize the planet into being more flourish. It helps give people nature and crops and water and all this stuff. Alms and spirits are like the biggest thing for the planet. And if an alm doesn't choose to be a sacrifice even after they're chosen, it could be a devastation to your land. And that is pretty much what you see in the first opening of the game, where you see two people running from the game, and you learn that their name is Orin and Liza, who doesn't really like the idea of sacrificing someone for the planet. Like when they have a whole life that they want to live and cherish. And I was on their sides, because it's like, yeah, that is a very big undertaking to take, where you think you're doing a noble thing, and you want to be noble for and help the land and sacrifice yourself for the planet to flourish and vibe and everything. But sometimes you do also question the logic of, why am I doing this? Like, why is this a thing? And that is pretty much what Aaron and Liza was doing. So they decided to run because they were afraid, and they didn't want to lose the love that they have because of some curse or sacrifice that doesn't really make sense, because there was a point in time where mana was flourished through the entire land and alms wasn't a thing. But it became a thing once a lot of things in the past happened, where the goddess of the land became a lot more weaker because of human greed. And because of that, there was like a lack of mana, and the big bad, who we'll talk about in a little bit in later parts of the video, is one of the reasons why that all went down. And that's pretty much since how everything happened. But allegedly, you are trying to escape with Aaron and Liza, which I didn't really think that you were going to actually be able to play, but you were. You were actually able to go through the experience of trying to escape. You're fighting off your friends and your comrades, and you first come across these night type creatures that are spawning because the planet and their town are dying, because without the sacrifice of the they can't flourish the way they normally would. And eventually, after some tussles and everything, you think they're about to escape. Aaron was about to die, but Liza, being a ace woman, she's a crazy. I was cheering so hard when this part happened, is when she catches Aaron from falling to his death. And it was a badass move. It was a boss bitch move. I'm gonna be honest. I was cheering. I was like, oh my God, I thought this guy was about to die. And sure enough, he didn't. And I knew he wasn't, because I played the demo and he shows up in another part of the game. But some parts of me, I was like, oh, this is how he gets like separated. This is how it happens. And then it didn't. And I was just like, oh my God. But eventually it was a victory, fell short, because eventually Liza ended up turning to stone because she tried to escape. It doesn't really explain why she got turned to stone. She just started turning to stone, which was a very sad thing to watch Aaron try to stop it, but couldn't. And from that point, I guess he was just trying to save her from turning to stone. And I thought eventually you would be able to do that. Again, I'm getting ahead of myself because I'm kind of jumping all over the place. I'm like trying to remember everything that I played from my playthrough, and everything is just coming out. But there's like an important part that I want to talk about the most of how I feel. And that is mostly about Val and Hina, who you introduce to the beginning. After the beginning parts of the game, you get introduced to Val and Hina. Val being the brand new soul guard who is tasked of taking the alms to their destined place, which is the Mana Tree, and he's the one that's supposed to protect them as he goes through this adventure. And at first, he was supposed to do it alone without his wonderful girlfriend Hina, and then eventually she was chosen as the firearm. And now they'll be able to venture out together and see the world and have a great time. And let me tell you right now, I love Val and Hina. They are so cute and adorable to watch on screen. Anytime I got to see them interact with each other was a treat and was the one thing I wanted to see the most on screen. The most reasons why I kept playing, besides the game just being fun and visually pleasing and just enjoyable to be in, was because I wanted to see more Val and Hina scenes. And every time they were on screen, it was always a reward, I swear. But Hina wasn't actually just there for plot reasons. She was actually useful for the battle. She was a side healer. Essentially, she wouldn't join the fight and enemies wouldn't be able to target her too much, but she would be like a pocket healer. She would be there. If you didn't heal yourself, she would be there to heal, which was great. It was a great support. You know, I was doing all the fighting as Val and she was healing. And it was a great time just seeing them interact. Every time Val would defeat an enemy and she would be like, "Thank you, Mr. Hero," and all this other cute little couple banter. And it was adorable. It was amazing to see, and I loved every part of it. Then they get introduced to Aaron, which first Aaron starts to ask questions about Val's power, which he has the ability to turn enemies into crystallized forms, into energy, which you don't really learn that until a lot later. But he does have this strange power where they turn into cornerstones, what they call them. But I feels like it's just easier to tell them that they get crystallized because that's what it looks like. And he was interested in that. And so that was that. Aaron left, and then you didn't really get to see him again until a lot later. And then you go through the rest of the games, meeting other Alms like Karenai, who is the Alm of Wind. But at first she wasn't, because she's an injured dragon, and the village doesn't really like her, but they also want to protect her because she's injured. And she tried to be the Wind Alm and went off with her pet dragon Ramco, who's super cute and assists her in battle. And it's a very nice combo. And at first she was very bratty. She didn't really like to put her energy into the village because the village didn't give a damn about her. She was literally Naruto. If you think of Naruto, she was that. No one respected her. No one cared about her because of who she was and how she was injured. She was trying to be this Wind Alm, but she was like cursed because she got injured trying to do it at first, and then people shunned her for having only one wing, and then she just became not caring about the or the village because she didn't want to work for people who didn't like her, because her parents shunned her, the village mayor shunned her, the other dragon girls shunned her. She was literally Naruto, essentially. Eventually, she does become the Alm from means. I'm not going to go too deep into what happens, because just in case somebody does want to play the game after this, I do want you to experience their stories as they happen, because I think it is important for those parts. And eventually she does join you for means, and then eventually you go through all these different locations that are very beautiful, very massive, and I enjoyed every part of exploring this world. Because one thing about most JRPGs, they have these beautiful set pieces, beautiful landmarks that you can go to, and you're not really freeing to explore. They're always like this narrow path. Like you see something in the distance, you're like, can I go to that? But it's not. It's just there for visual effects or just to make the game pleasing or look good. But not in Visions of Mana. You see something in distance, you can literally go to it. You can jump off a cliff if you wanted to. The freeing nature of this game is so rewarding. It feels like every time my curiosity was curious about something, I was rewarded for my curiosity, and it was so great. It was so great just to do things just because I wanted to. If I wanted to jump off a bridge, I could do it. If I wanted to jump into the water, I can do it. If I was in a town where you don't think you could do certain things, you were able to do it. And I mean, obviously the game had its limitations, but the fact that you had all this endless potential to do whatever you wanted was super cool and so freeing to explore the world more, just to see everything I could do. And I tested almost everything you could possibly do within the game, besides like getting all like the vessel areas or shrines and stuff, because eventually I wanted to complete the game. I felt like I'd done enough to complete the game, but for the most part, the world was beautiful. But again, eventually you do meet Morley as well, who is a lion cat who was cursed by the Luna scepter or glass, Luna glass. And essentially he thought for a long time that he destroyed the lunar hourglass that protected the land, and eventually it turned the entire town except for him into a distant past. So they're living in the past while he's living in the future. It was a weird time loop, and it was very sad because, you know, Morley and his mother and the interaction, he's a young kid, so he blamed himself for a long time, but obviously he was a kid, you can't really blame him. And so he carried that guilt for a long time, and you were able to help him, and his story was really beautiful and amazing. I think besides Val and Hina, his story was my second favorite story in the entire game. However, I didn't really get the chance to use Morley a lot because of the other characters that was a little bit more useful than him for a lot of the vessel powers that you end up getting. However, I did really like Morley's story, and I'm unfortunately I didn't get to play with him a lot. However, I do think he was a great character. I think he was a good, like, neutral character, a guy that tried to keep a level head, and eventually he does have a thing for Palomina, but he doesn't know it yet, but everyone else does. And like, it's cute to see him try to interact with Palomina, where he does keep some type of professionalism around her, but when certain guys do come around, he does get a little like, so do you, you know, like this guy, or do you, you know, care for this guy? It's like, it's really cute. The interactions and dialogue in this game feels like an anime, and I think that's some of the reasons why I enjoyed the story so much, and that is because it had a simple adventure isekai anime feel that felt natural. It wasn't like they were trying to invent the wheel or do anything outlandish. Yes, at times the combat can be a little dull or stale, but it was fun and unique enough that made it fun to learn. And once you did learn it, it was very fun to use. And then with all the different vessels that you have so many different varieties within the game. You have your vessels that you could change your classes from being a lance and shield user, or just a sword user, or a buster sword, or with Palomina, who I use the most, you go from a spear or a mace and chain, or, you know, there's so many ways that you could play the game in your own experience, and it was fun to utilize and find different ways to make my playstyle work. And one of the playstyles I used the most was Palomina in a sphere with the dark vessel. And then with Val being the light vessel, Karina using the fire, and then Julie, who you meet a lot later, who's a springling, who was like the best healer to have in the entire game. And I used him for his wood and grass healing abilities because it was the best in the game. But I'm moving a lot faster through this because I'm like trying to remember things, and I'm just going off of my straight emotions for this game. And I've been putting this off for a long time because I just didn't know how I wanted to go about this. I didn't know if I wanted to complete the entire game from beating the DLC along with platinum the game before I did this review. That's not a review, but I just want to talk about it. I just want to talk about it, get it out of my head and out my feelings out on paper, just so you guys know how I feel about this game, and I enjoyed it. So as you're going through the game, you're experiencing the world, you're fighting different bosses, collecting different things, and the world is great. You have your companions from Val, Hina, Karina, Morley, and it's a great adventure until you meet Aaron again in Ilazana. Because like, there's other things that happens in Ilizana when you meet Palomina. Palomina has this advisor named Pazar. He's like a squirrel fox. I don't really know what species he is. I think he's a fox, but he also looks like a skunk. Regardless, he's a snake, and he wants the throne because he wants to rule and put the town under poverty, and so he can eat and feel comfortable by himself. And Palomina, being the chosen one for the who already got chosen to be the water however, she hid it from everyone because she didn't want to leave her brother under the rule of Bazaar, who would definitely manipulate him into being his underling and doing his tactics, essentially. And everything is all nice and peaceful. You save Niccolo, he was protected, you foiled Bazaar's plans, and everything was nice and peaceful. You went back to the palace as Ilizana, and you were just having a romantic night. And then eventually, you see Vel, who wants to see Hina, because eventually, for some reason, he wasn't allowed to stay in the palace because only Ons was allowed to stay in the palace. But Palomina is a queen, so she could overrule that rule for some reason. But regardless of the fact, Vel goes to see Hina because he missed her and he wants to see her. And they're having this romantic night talk and having a romantic outing, and it's just fun and enjoyable to watch. And then eventually Aaron shows up, and he wanted to talk to Vel and Hina. And he mostly wanted to talk to them because he was saying he wanted to have a conversation about a time when alms and sacrifices wasn't a thing. And as you go through, because it feels like very like, oh, okay, yeah, we could probably figure out a way to not have a world where alms are sacrificed. But as you go through, and I'm surprised it took me so long. Something just didn't feel right. It like certain stars was aligning in my head, and I was like, wait, we've been in this situation before. This is a Square Enix game after all, and they don't like romance. When two characters love each other and they're getting too comfortable with each other and the player's getting comfortable, something tragic happens. And before we get into it, this is going to be a major spoiler for the game of one of the big plot points of Visions of Mana. If you do not want to be spoiled on this particular moment, this is the moment to leave before I go any deeper. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hina gets sacrificed because Vel, being kind of stupid and kind of wanting Hina to live a nice full life with him in a nice village where they can have kids and watch them grow up and have a beautiful, amazing time as two parents of lovely birds just having a great time. But that was cut short because Aaron tricked Vel and Hina into believing that they needed to stand in this sphere or this space where eventually Hina got sacrificed and turned into a cornerstone, which Aaron was going to use to save Liza. Now, I get why Aaron had to do it, because he wanted to save his own love. Love makes you do stupid things when you're in love. And unfortunately, he sacrificed Hina, and it cost us so much closure. It broke me. I didn't cry, but I was pissed. I was so mad. I was like, no way, they just took Hina from us. I thought it was a joke. I thought we would be able to get her back. And as we go through the game, you start to really let it sink in that it just isn't true. And of course, everyone is pissed at Vel because they would do something so foolish without consulting everyone else. And they should have. And he knows this. And of course, the whole rest of the game, Vel is not the same. He's not the same. He's not cheerful as he used to be. Like, he's still fun and energetic, but you could tell the vibe of Vel is just gone. It's gone, and it just felt so wrong. It felt so sad. It was like they had so much chemistry and they had so much love, and just before that, they went on a romantic date in Ilizana. Vel bought her a nice little pendant. It was super kawaii, and they took it away because Square Enix just hate love in their games. Kingdom Hearts Soren Kairi. They killed Kairi, brought her back, then killed it again. Then in fucking Final Fantasy VII, you have Cloud and Aerith, who are in love. I mean, I love Cloud and Tifa more, don't get me wrong, but you know, Cloud and Aerith is very sweet too. You have her. She's amazing. She's a great healer. She's a great part of the team. You have chemistry with her. Kills her instantly. What is up with Screen is getting rid of your love interest? It's so freaking gut-wrenching. It's so gut-wrenching. It's like, why? This is the part I wanted to talk about the most. I just was like, why? Why would they do this to me? One, not only did they give rid of your love for Hina and just cut it out of the story, two, they got rid of your best healer in the game. So now you don't even have your pocket healer anymore. So you got to figure out how to heal yourself when you were getting very comfortable. And I get why they did it, because they had to shake up the gameplay. And it was just like, why? So from that point on, my only goal was to kill Aaron, because I just couldn't get past the idea that if it wasn't for Aaron, we would still have Hina. And because of Aaron, we lost Hina. And I get why he did it. He was trying to save his lost love. I understand that. However, he sacrificed Hina and it didn't matter to me anymore. So you go through the entire game, you're meeting other characters, you're trying to find ways to save Hina's cornerstone. And I'm like, I was so delusional in that thinking like, oh, maybe, you know, we can get back her cornerstone and you can put it back and she'll come back to life and everything will be peachy gory. So I only played the game still. I mean, I was still enjoying the game. Don't get me wrong. I loved every part of the game. The only, my true goal though was to play the game to see more Vel and Hina together again. And that was like my main motive. And eventually you reach Aaron and Lazia's town, and they learned that Lazia got turned to stone. And it was a very sad thing, which Lazia was from Val and Hina's village, who was on Solgard herself, who took all of her friends to the monastery and had success in her journey and made it all the way there. And then she just settled down in this town with Aaron, and over the 5 years she became part of this village and became an aunt, got chosen. And then that's how they found out. And it was learned that Lazia could never become the Unstone again, which was sad in a way. I really thought you could save these characters and you couldn't. And I think the one frustrating part about the game, other than the stuff that I had before, but this is just personal takes, is that you wasn't able to save Lazia at all at any point. I feels like that should have been a choice that you should have been able to do. Like should have been two different choices. Like if you did stuff successfully, you should have been able to save Lazia or Hina. But the fact that those choices was taken away from you, it was the only time where I felt like the freedom of choice of the player was taken. And it sucked. And then eventually you go through the game trying to find out different ways, and you're just trying to continue your journey to the monastery. And you find Julie, who is a springling, who is the only one of his kind, because everyone else was sleeping, and he's been sleeping for almost 10,000 years. So he's like super old, but he looks super young. You know, that old anime trope. But he's a magician who just likes playing music and just living freely. He's very delusional about the world, where he wants to change things, but he's one of those people that's like, what's the point kind of characters. Like, things are just been this way for years, so there's like no reason why I should try. But eventually he does find motivations to try. And then you go through a whole different types of situations, and you find the interest between the monastery, where you come across Aaron. And then somewhere in between this is like where you fight Aaron, and it didn't feel like a final boss. Like, Aaron felt like a pushover. He felt like he wasn't truly like the end game boss, because he wasn't. Eventually there was another person that came up that was great value Sephiroth. No, I'm kidding. He's not. Delphos is his true name, and he was a very menacing fucking foe. He looked like a final boss. And he was the original hero of the story who guided the heroes and alms to the monastery. And the only thing he ever asked was that his love, well, I forget her name, but she's not really all that important. She kind of is, but it's not all that important. But she ended up dying, and because she died, he became hateful and spiteful, and he put a whole curse on the world, and that is what drew a lot of the mana from the goddess. And she wanted to live a nice peaceful life and give people what they wanted, because Delphos was so strong and so frightening. He literally was the one sole reason why the mana was zapping from the planet, because he put this curse on the planet of how much hatred he had because his lost love was gone. And I'm just realizing that this whole game is about lost love. Everyone is losing love in this game and is just pissed about it. But the only person that is kind of like just going as it is Vel, but he also is pretty pissed, but more so blames himself. And as you go through, Delphos ends up killing Aaron, so you don't even get the pleasure of killing that son of a bitch, because he gets killed by Delphos. So he took the one thing that you had to gain from the game, and then eventually it turned into this thing where they kind of forgot about Aaron existing, where Vel just didn't blame Aaron from stealing Hina's core stone, but Delphos stole it from Aaron, and then it just, all the blame just got put on Delphos because he was a more powerful foe. But it's like, no, Aaron, if without him, we would not have lost Hina. Because of him, everything went haywire. It's all his fault. Everything is about his fault. And I get that Delphos is a big threat. He's trying to destroy the world. He's trying to wake up the Benevolons. There are these big, powerful spirits of the lands, and they protect the land, but they also curse the land. It's a weird type of thing. And he's trying to take over them and trying to use them to destroy the planet and destroy the monastery and destroy the goddess and all this stuff, evil stuff. But my only concern is Hina. I want my Hina back, bro. I want her back. I want her in my hands. I want her in my party. I want her back. And because of Aaron and his stupid plan, he ended up getting himself killed. And then I didn't get to kill him. And then we didn't even get Hina's cornerstone back. It got stolen again. And people kept blaming Delphos for everything. But he didn't do anything. To us, at least. To us. We had to stop him from unleashing the Benevolons and also get Hina's cornerstone back from him, because Val just wanted it to take it to the tree, at least for that, so he can feel some type of fulfillment from that. So things progress. You go through the game, you're fighting stuff. The dungeons are cool. I love how you get to utilize all the different vessels within different dungeons, especially the time dungeon, even though the final boss of that was stupid, which is the vampire, which I told you about. I did not like that at all. But other than that, everything was fun. It was amazing, beautiful. As I said, the game is very freeing. Everything about it was great. You meet other new characters that also becomes like Ash, who is a scholar who only thought about books and not the actual adventure, but then he learns about the adventure, and then he's like, oh, I've been doing things wrong. He's still a scholar. He still cares about knowledge and books and stuff, and he doesn't really help at all. Story-wise, he does, but like gameplay-wise, he doesn't really do much at all. Because like after like Hina and Lazaya dies, you don't really get like a temporary support anymore, because like you only needed it for those beginning parts of the game. But once you get to this part of the game, you become a lot more stronger and you're able to utilize everything a lot better. And so you don't really need a pocket healer or a pocket supporter anymore, because you do have your other companions and all these different tools and usefulness that you can use to play the game. And it's a great gameplay loop. In the end, you do end up fighting Delphos and you're trying to stop him. It comes to an end, and then again, I'm not trying to spoil everything about the ending. I'm very, very vague about a lot of things. The Hina stuff I did spoil because I did want to talk about that. That was like the main thing. Eventually, you do get to go back to the town of Hina and Vale, and you're talking to his parents and you're letting them know what happened, and it's very sad and emotional. And then you get to the spot where Hina and Vale would always go to, and in there was a secret, I guess you could say, and in there was a time capsule that Hina left just in case Vale went on his journey by himself, but it was like a love letter, but a sweet love letter. And I won't lie, after the scene was over, like going through, I ended up bawling. It broke me. This game actually made me cry. A game has to do a lot to make me cry. I haven't cried in a game since, I guess, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but like that was like emotional, but like you knew it was happening kind of deal, because it's like a remake of the original game, so you knew it was going to happen, but the way it happened was still very sad, you know. But this one, it was one of those things that you was not expecting. I was in it, I was invested into the story, especially Vale and Hina, and just seeing her spirit there, and you know, him reading the letter, it was just all the emotions of Vale and Hina coming together was just like, and I was just bawling. I was bawling, man. I was bawling, and I cannot deny it. It was a fun, an emotional story, and I enjoyed every part of it. In the end, you do defeat Delphos, and then stuff happens, and then in the end, you don't get Hina back, and you don't get to have her as your party, which is the one thing I wish they allowed you to do. Like, if you beat the game and you're on New Game Plus and all that, I wish you was able to play as Hina still, or have her on your party, because I would love to see what she looked like in different outfits or vessels and stuff, even though they probably didn't account for that. But it still sucks that you didn't get her. Maybe in DLC, I'm sorry, you won't get that, because after this game was made, the studio got shut down. I don't understand. This game did so well, and it was so amazing, got really great reviews and scores, and the studio ended up closing down. They were in charge of remaking the Legends of Mana, Trials of Mana, and this game, and once this game was over, they got shut down. I don't know why, and it sucks that a lot of these companies that do great things, and these smaller companies that push phenomenal games out, end up getting closed by certain reasons, and it's just very sad. So I don't think we're ever going to get DLC for this game because of that, and we're never going to get like a chance to either have DLC where you get to play as Hina or anything. Now there is a post game for the game, and I haven't beaten it yet, so my opinions for it could change for that, but like I'm assuming, because I haven't seen it yet, that you don't get to play as Hina anymore unless you play the game all the way over for the adventure. But it's not really the same, you know. I want her in the foul that I beat, and I want to have her on my side, hearing her banter with Vale and everything again, and you just don't get that, and it is all very sad. But in the end, Vision of Mana was a beautiful, amazing experience. I enjoyed every single part of it, despite the small little things I didn't like. It was a fantastic adventure, a great JRPG, one of those games that felt very freeing to explore all the different worlds. There was a lot of collectibles that you can go after and get to power up your characters or do all these other stuff from the vessel arenas, challenge yourself from the battle towers, and they have in post game. It's a great game. It's a solid game. It doesn't do anything to break the wheel, as I said. It doesn't do anything to break or do something new in JRPGs. It's just a fun, simple JRPG that has a lot of great, useful tactics, ideas for it. In the end, I said Vision of Mana was a great time, a great experience. I am definitely looking forward to the next Mana game they bring out, if they do continue the series, which I would assume they would, because this game did do very well despite the studio getting closed down. This game did really well, and people really had a lot of great times with it. I feels like other people should give it a chance, because like after the demo, they changed a lot of the gameplay and the camera and the things that was wrong in the demo for this game, and it's a great experience, at least for me. So I'm gonna give this game a A-. It could have been just a solid A+ if the mouth move animations were a little better, and you got to play as Hina in the end. But that's just a biased answer. That's just a biased answer. But in the end, I love Visions of Mana. It was a great experience. Let me know if you guys had the same feelings, if you played it, if you watched my entire playthrough. You can do that right here on the channel because I did stream the entire game of Visions of Mana. So you can try it out and watch it if you want to see me go through the whole adventure of that. But for now, thank you so much for watching. If you guys did enjoy, let me know by hitting the like button, subscribing for more, because my goal is to hit 10K by the end of the year. And with your help, I can definitely do that. And with that being said, I'm Kentman, and I will see you in the next video next time. Bye me.